We have shown that a superintelligence may be able to significantly influence the future in order to achieve its objectives. But what will be its objectives? What connection exists between an artificial agent's motivation and intelligence? Here, two theses are developed. The orthogonality thesis asserts that intellect and ultimate objectives are independent variables, with the caveat that any level of intelligence may be paired with any ultimate aim. And according to the instrumental convergence thesis, super intelligence entities with a wide variety of final goals will nevertheless pursue analogous intermediate goals because they share similar instrumental motivations. And together, these theses aid in our understanding of the actions that a superintelligent agent would take. Let's examine them. Well, we have already advised against humanizing a superintelligent AI's powers. This caution should be expanded to cover its goals as well. For this section of our investigation, it's beneficial to first take a minute to consider the size of the universe of potential brains. Human brains cluster in this ethereal area in a very small way. Think about two people who seem to have nothing in common, like Hannah Arendt and Benny Hill. These two people's personalities may seem to contrast in virtual maximum ways. However, this is due to the fact that our intuitions are calibrated based on our experience, which draws from the human population as a whole and to some extent from fictitious characters created by humans for their own amusement. The two personas must be thought of as a virtual clones if we zoom out and contemplate the space of all potential minds. Certainly, Miss Arendt and Mr. Hill share a very similar neurological architecture. Imagine their minds resting peacefully side by side. They will be easy to identify as being unique. Even then, you might not be able to distinguish which brain belonged to whom. And this impression of fundamental similarity will only be strengthened if you looked more closely, studying the morphology of the two brains under a microscope. You would see the same lamellar organization of the cortex with the same brain areas made up of the same types of neurons, soaking in the same baths of neurotransmitters, synapse clefts, and others. And despite the fact that human psychology only makes up a small portion of all potential minds, there is a propensity to attach human characteristics to a variety of artificial or alien cognitive systems. And this is excellently illustrated by Yudkowsky. He says, back in the era of pulp science fiction, magazine covers occasionally depicted a sentient monstrous alien, colloquially known as a bug-eyed monster carrying off an attractive human female in a torn dress. It would seem the artist believed that a non-humanoid alien with a wholly different evolutionary history would sexually desire human females. And probably the artist didn't ask whether a giant bug perceives human females as attractive. Rather, a human female in a torn dress is sexy, inherently so, as an intrinsic property. They who made this mistake didn't think about the instissoid's mind. They focused on the woman's torn dress. And if the dress were not torn, the woman would be less sexy, and the BEM doesn't enter into it. The objectives of an artificial intelligence are much less likely to resemble those of a green-scale space invader. The extraterrestrial, let's presume, is a biological being that developed through evolution. Hence, it may be anticipated that it will possess the types of motivation common of evolved beings. For instance, it wouldn't come as a major surprise to learn that a random sentient alien might have interest in one or more things like food, air, temperature, energy usage, the possibility of bodily harm or the threat of it, disease, predation, sex, or protection. A member of an intelligent social species might also have motivations related to cooperation and competition. Like us, it might show in group loyalty, resentment of free riders, perhaps even a vain concern with reputation and appearance. An artificial intelligence, by contrast, need not care intrinsically about any of the things. There is nothing paradoxical about an AI whose sole final goal is to count the grains of sand on Boracay, or to calculate the decimal expansion of P, or to maximize the total number of paper clips that will exist in its future light cone. In fact, it will be easier to create an AI with simple goals like this than to build one that had a human-like set of values and dispositions. Compare how easy it is to write a program that measures how many digits of P have been calculated and stored in memory with how difficult it would be to create a program that reliably measures the degree of realization of some more meaningful goal. Human flourishing, say, or global justice. And unfortunately, because a meaningless reductionistic goal is easier for humans to code and easier for an AI to learn, it's just the kind of goal that a programmer would choose to install in his seed AI if his focus is on taking the quickest path to getting the AI to work. We will revisit this concern shortly. Intelligence search for instrumentally optimal plans and policies can perform it in the service of any goal. Intelligence and motivation are, in a sense, orthogonal. We can think of them as two axes spanning a graph in which each point represents a logically possible artificial agent. Some qualifications could be added to this picture. For example, it might be impossible for a very unintelligent system to have a very complex motivations. In order for it to be correct to say that a certain agent has a set of motivations, those motivations may need to be functionally integrated with the agent's decision process, something that places demands on memory, processing power, and perhaps intelligence. For minds that can modify themselves, there may also be the dynamical constraints. An intelligent self-modifying mind with an urgent desire to be stupid might not remain intelligent for long. But these qualifications must not be allowed to obscure the basic point about the independence of intelligence and motivation, which we can express as follows. Well, the orthogonality thesis, intelligence and final goals are orthogonal. That is, more or less any level of intelligence could in principle be combined with more or less any final goal. And if the orthogonality thesis seems problematic, this might be because of the superficial resemblance it bears to some traditional philosophical positions which have been subject to long debate. Once it is understood to have a different and narrower scope, its credibility should rise. And note that the orthogonality thesis speaks not of rationality or reason, but of intelligence. By intelligence, we here mean something like skill at prediction, planning, and means ends reasoning in general. This sense of instrumental cognitive efficaciousness is most relevant when we are seeking to understand what the causal impact of a machine superintelligence might be. Even if there is some sense of the world rational such that a paperclip maximizing superintelligent agent would necessarily fail to qualify as fully rational in that sense, this would in no way preclude such an agent from having awesome faculties of instrumental reasoning, faculties which could let it have a large impact on the world. And according to the orthogonality thesis, artificial agents can have utterly anthropomorphic goals. This, however, doesn't imply that it is impossible to make predictions about the behavior of particular artificial agents, not even hypothetical superintelligent agents whose cognitive complexity and performance characteristics might render them in some respects opaque to human analysis. There are at least three directions from which we can approach the problem of predicting superintelligent motivation. First one will be predictability through design. If we can suppose that the designers of a superintelligent agent can successfully engineer the goal system of this agent so that it stably pursues a particular goal set by the programmers, then one prediction we can make is that the agent will pursue the goal. The more intelligent the agent is, the greater the cognitive resourcefulness it will have to pursue that goal. So even before an agent has been created, we might be able to predict something about its behavior if we know something about who will build it and what goals they will want it to have. And the second way will be predictability through inheritance. If digital intelligence is created directly from a, let's say, human template, then digital intelligence might inherit the motivations of the human template. The agent might retain some of these motivations, even if its cognitive capacities are subsequently enhanced to make it super intelligent. This kind of interference requires caution. The agent's goals and values could easily become corrupted in the uploading process or during its subsequent operation and enhancement, and depending on how the procedure is implemented. The third way is predictability through convergent instrumental reasons. Even without detailed knowledge of an agent's final goals, we may be able to infer something about its more immediate objectives by considering the instrumental reasons that would arise for any of a wide range of possible final goals in a wide range of situations. This way of predicting becomes more useful the greater the intelligence of the agent, because a more intelligent agent is more likely to recognize the true instrumental reasons for its actions, and so act in ways that make it more likely to achieve its goals. And the third method of predictability is examined in this part, which also propose instrumental convergence thesis to go along with the orthogonality thesis. And with this context, we can then more thoroughly study the other two types of predictability. And we will do this together in the coming videos when we consider how to shape the intelligence explosion in order to increase the likelihood of a positive outcome. The orthogonality thesis states that there is a huge range of potential final goals for intelligent agents. However, the instrumental convergence theory contends that some instrumental goals are nearly certain to be pursued by any intelligent agent, since they serve as valuable intermediate steps on the way to achieving almost any final goal. And this thesis can be stated as follows. The instrumental convergence thesis says several instrumental values can be identified which are convergent in the sense that their attainment would increase the chance of the agent's goal being realized for a wide range of final goals and a wide range of situations, implying that these instrumental values are likely to be pursued by a broad spectrum of situated intelligent agents. And in the following, we will consider several categories where such convergent instrumental values may be found. The likelihood that an agent will recognize the instrumental values it confronts increases with the agent's intelligence. And we will therefore focus mainly on the case of a hypothetical superintelligent agent whose instrumental reasoning capacities far exceed those of any human being. And we will also comment on how the instrumental convergence thesis applies to the case of human beings, as this gives us occasion to elaborate some essential qualifications concerning how the instrumental convergence thesis should be interpreted and applied. Where there are convergent instrumental values, we may be able to predict some aspects of a superintelligence's behavior, even if we know virtually nothing about the superintelligence's final goals. If an agent's ultimate objectives are in the future, it will frequently be possible for it to take acts in the future that will raise the likelihood that it will succeed in accomplishing its objectives. This gives the agent a practical reason to try to survive into the future in order to further its objective that is focused on the future. The majority of people appear to regard their own survival in the long run. This is not a need for artificial agents. Some may be created with no regard for their own survival in the long run. Nevertheless, a lot of agents who do not have an innate desire to live would, given a variety of circumstances, decide to live in order to achieve their ultimate objectives. Well, the likelihood that an agent's present goals will be met by its future self will increase if it keeps its current goals in mind. This offers the agent a practical motive now to keep from changing its ultimate objectives. Goal content integrity for final goals is, in a sense, even more fundamental than survival as a convergent instrumental motivation. And among human beings, the opposite may seem to hold, but that is because survival is usually part of our final goals. For software agents, which can easily switch bodies or create exact duplicates of themselves, preservation of self as a particular implementation or a particular physical object need not be an important instrumental value. Advanced software agents might also be able to swap memories, download skills, and radically modify their cognitive architecture and personalities. A population of such agents might operate more like a functional soup than a society composed of distinct semi-permanent persons. For some purposes, processes in such a system might be better individuated as theological threats based on their values, rather than on the basis of bodies, personalities, memories, or abilities. In such scenarios, goal continuity might be said to constitute a key aspect of survival. Even though there are situations in which an agent can best fulfill its final goals by intentionally changing them. Such situations can arise when any of the following factors is significant. For example, first one is social signaling. When others can perceive an agent's goals and use that information to infer instrumentally relevant dispositions or other correlated attributes, it can be in the agent's interest to modify its goals to make a favorable impression. For example, an agent might miss out on beneficial deals if potential partners cannot trust it to fulfill its side of the bargain. And in order to make credible commitments, an agent might therefore wish to adopt as a final goal the honoring of its earlier commitments. Agents that could flexibly and transparently modify their own goals could use this ability to enforce deals. And the next one would be social preferences. Others may have also final preferences about agent's goals. The agent could then have reason to modify its goals, either to satisfy or to frustrate those preferences. And preferences concerning own goal content. An agent might have some final goal concerned with the agent's own goal content. For example, the agent might have a final goal to become the type of agent that is motivated by certain values rather than others, such as compassion rather than comfort. Storage costs. If the cost of storing or processing some part of an agent's utility function is large compared to the chance that a situation will arise in which applying that part of the utility function will make a difference, then the agent has an instrumental reason to simplify its goal content, and it may trash the bit that is idle. We humans often seem happy to let our final values drift. This might often be because we do not know precisely what they are. It's not surprising that we want our beliefs about our final values to be able to change in light of continuing self-discovery or changing self-presentation needs. However, there are cases in which we willingly change the values themselves, not just our beliefs or interpretations of them. For example, somebody deciding to have a child might predict that they will come to value the child for its own sake, even though at the time of the decision they may not particularly value their future child or like children in general. As you know, humans are complicated and many factors might be at play in situations like this. For instance, one might have a final value that involves becoming the kind of person who cares about some other individual for his or her own sake, or one might have a final value that involves having certain experiences and occupying a certain social role. And becoming a parent and undergoing the attendant goal shift might be a necessary aspect of that. Human goals can also have inconsistent content, and so some people might want to modify some of their final goals to reduce the inconsistencies. Improvements in rationality and intelligence will tend to improve an agent's decision-making, rendering the agent more likely to achieve its final goals. One would therefore expect cognitive enhancement to emerge as an instrumental goal for a wide variety of intelligent agents. And for similar reasons, agents will tend to instrumentally value many kinds of information. Not all kinds of rationality, intelligence, and knowledge need to be instrumentally useful in the attainment of an agent's final goals. Dutch book arguments can be used to show that an agent whose credence function violates the rules of probability theory is susceptible to money pump procedures in which a savvy bookie arranges a set of bets, each of which appears favorable according to the agent's beliefs, but which in combination are guaranteed to result in a loss for the agent and a corresponding gain for the bookie. However, this fact fails to provide any strong general instrumental reasons to iron out all probabilistic incoherency. Agents who do not expect to encounter savvy bookies or who adopt a general policy against betting do not necessarily stand to lose much from having some incoherent beliefs, and they may gain important benefits of the types mentioned: reduced cognitive effort, social signaling, etc. And there is no general reason to expect an agent to seek instrumental, useless forms of cognitive enhancement, as an agent might not value knowledge and understanding for their own sakes. Which cognitive abilities are instrumentally useful depends both on the agent's final goals and on its situation. An agent that has access to reliable expert advice may have little need for its own intelligence and knowledge. If intelligence and knowledge come at a cost, such as time and effort expended in acquisition or increased storage or processing requirements, then the agent might prefer less knowledge and less intelligence. The same can hold if the agent has final goals that involve being ignorant of certain facts, and likewise, if an agent faces incentives arising from strategic commitments, signaling, or social preferences. And each of these countervailing reasons comes into play for human beings. Much information is irrelevant to our goals. We can often rely on other skills and expertise. Acquiring knowledge takes time and effort. We might intrinsically value certain kinds of ignorance, and we operate in an environment in which the ability to make strategic commitments, social signal, and satisfy other people's direct preferences over our own epistemic states is often more important to us than simple cognitive gains. There are special situations in which cognitive enhancement may result in an enormous increase in an agent's ability to achieve its final goals. In particular, if the agent's final goals are fairly unbounded and the agent is in a position to become the first superintelligence and thereby potentially obtain a decisive strategic advantage, enabling the agent to shape the future of Earth's originating life and accessible cosmic resource according to its preferences. At least in this special case, a rational intelligent agent would place a very high instrumental value on cognitive enhancement. An agent may often have instrumental reasons to seek better technology, which at its simplest means to seek more efficient ways of transforming some given set of inputs into valued outputs. Thus, a software agent might place an instrumental value on more efficient algorithms that enable its mental functions to run faster on a given hardware. And similarly, agents whose goals require some form of physical construction might instrumental value improved engineering technology, which enables them to create a wider range of structures more quickly and reliably using fewer and cheaper materials and less energy. Of course, there is a trade-off. The potential benefits of better technology must be weighed against its cost, including not only the cost of obtaining the technology, but also the cost of learning how to use it, integrating it with other technologies already in use, and so forth. And proponents of some new technology, confident in its superiority to existing alternatives, are often dismayed when other people do not share their enthusiasm. But people's resistance to novel and nominally superior technology need not be based on ignorance or irrationality. A technology's valence or normative character depends not only on the context in which it is deployed, but also the vantage point from which its impacts are evaluated. What is a boon from one person's perspective can be a liability from another's. Those also mechanized the looms, increased the economic efficiency of textile production. The eluded handloom weavers who anticipated that the innovation would render their artisan skills obsolete may have good instrumental reasons to oppose it. And the point here is that if technological perfection is to name a widely convergent instrumental goal for intelligent agents, then the term must be used or understood in a special sense. Technology must be construed as embedded in a particular social context, and its costs and benefits must be evaluated with reference to some specified agent's final values. It seems that a superintelligent singleton, a superintelligent agent that faced no significant intelligent rivals or position and is thus in a position to determine global policy and unilaterally would have instrumental reason to perfect the technologies that would make it better able to shape the world according to its preferred designs. And this would probably include space colonization technologies such as von Neumann probes, molecular nanotechnology, or some alternative, still more capable physical manufacturing technology also seems potentially very useful in the service of an extremely wide range of its final goals. For similar reasons as technological perfection, resource acquisition is another prevalent emerging instrumental objective. Both resources and technology have physical construction undertakings. The majority of human beings seek out resources that will satisfy their fundamental biological demands. However, most people aim to accumulate resources that are considerably over the minimal level. They may be somewhat motivated by less important physical desires, such more convenience in doing so. Gaining status, mates, friends, and influence through money accumulation and conspicuous consumption is a major driver of resource accumulation. Less frequently, some people might look for extra money to pursue costly non-social goals or altruistic goals. And on the basis of such observations, it might be tempting to suppose that a superintelligence not facing a competitive social world would see no instrumental reason to accumulate resource beyond some modest level. For instance, whatever computational resources are needed to run its mind along with some virtual reality. Yet, such a supposition would be entirely unwarranted. First, the value of resource depends on the uses to which they can be put, which in turn depends on the available technology. And with mature technology, basic resources such as time, space, matter, and free energy could be processed to serve almost any goal. And for example, such basic resources could be converted into life. Increased computational resource could be used to run the superintelligence at a greater speed and for a longer duration, or to create additional physical or simulated lives and civilizations. An extra physical resource could also be used to create backup systems or perimeter defenses, enhancing security. And such projects could easily consume far more than one planet's worth of resources. Furthermore, the cost of acquiring additional extraterrestrial resources will decline radically as the technology matures. Once von Neumann probes can be built, a large portion of the observable universe could be gradually colonized for the one-off cost of building and launching a single successful self-reproducing probe. This low cost of celestial resource acquisition would mean that such expansion could be worthwhile even if the value of the additional resource gained were somewhat marginal. For example, even if a superintelligence's final goals only concerned what happened within some particular small volume of space, such as the space occupied by its original home planet, it would still have instrumental reasons to harvest the resources of the cosmos beyond. It could use those surplus resources to build computers to calculate more optimal ways of using resources within a small spatial region of primary concern. And it could also use the extra resources to deliver more robust fortifications to safeguard its sanctum. Since the cost of acquiring additional resource would keep declining, this process of optimizing and increasing safeguards might well continue, and definitely even if it were subject to steeply diminishing returns. And thus, there is an extremely wide range of possible final goals of a super intelligent singleton could have that would generate the instrumental goal of unlimited resource acquisition. The likely manifestation of this would be the superintelligence's initiation of a colonization process that will expand in all directions using von Neumann probes. And this would result in an approximate sphere of expanding infrastructure centered on the originating planet and growing in radius at some fraction of the speed of light. And the colonization of the universe would continue in this manner until the accelerating speed of cosmic expansion makes further pursuits impossible as remoter regions drift permanently out of reach. And by contrast, agents lacking the technology required for inexpensive resource acquisition or for the conversion of generic physical resource into useful infrastructure may often find it not cost-effective to invest any present resource in increasing their material endowments. The same may hold for agents operating in competition with other agents of similar powers. For instance, if competing agents have already secured accessible cosmic resource, there may be no colonization opportunities left for a late starting agent, and the convergent instrumental reasons for superintelligence uncertain of the non-existence of other powerful superintelligent agents are complicated by strategic considerations that we do not currently fully understand, but which may constitute important qualifications to the examples of convergent instrumental reasons we have looked at in this video. And it should be also emphasized that the existence of convergent instrumental reasons, even if they apply to and are recognized by a particular agent, doesn't imply that the agent's behavior is easily predictable. An agent might well think of ways of pursuing the relevant instrumental values that do not readily occur to us. And this is especially true for superintelligence, which could devise extremely clever but counterintuitive plans to realize its goals, possibly even exploiting as yet undiscovered physical phenomena. And what is predictable is that the convergent instrumental values will be pursued and used to realize the agent's final goals, not the specific actions that the agent would take to achieve this.